No, you guys arrived that way. We never accepted this. Your community, your constituents never accepted this. Why? Was it happened in your organization, your bosses, is because of corruption, because they're captured, because they're doing what somebody else wants them to do, not the community, and we won't stand for it. Stop the facade.
Thanks for your comments. Again, we have probably 45 minutes, a lot of cards.
Thank you for your time, everybody. You were very generous to me. Thank you.
So if you did cede your time, let me know. Deirdre, Bolona.
Hello, my name is Deirdre Bolona, 17-year resident of Porter Ranch. I've had to cross out some of my notes because we have covered them, and I totally agree with everyone here when we say we have no trust in any of these agencies. No one has come to help us. No one. We are now here to help ourselves. We have done the research. We know what is in this mountain behind us. We know the chemicals that are there. You can find out the chemicals in gas and oil industry on Google, and there's a lot of them. And SoCalGas, Sempre, has been up here since 1973. And these are old decrepit wells that have been leaking twice a day, as this gentleman told us, as per one testimony from a SoCalGas employee. There's been many, but we are still sick. This study that you say there's no money for long term, we are still being poisoned on a daily basis. 2 leaks a day, and then that huge one, the largest one since the blowout a week ago. Our systems are full of toxins. We need a long-term study. I need to see what toxins are in my body, and I need to be detoxed. I need the chemicals out of my body so I don't grow cancer like so many people here that have already left. I wish my dad was here. He just passed. He wasn't around long enough to be in your study because you took 2 years to even come here and talk about the study.
Yeah.
So he's gone. Just as if you probably heard someone talk about Castle Bay, 6 employees are dead from cancer within 10 years of working there. And did you know that none of the office staff, the principal, the vice principal, any of the office came back? They don't want to die of cancer. All right? So we need the study. So here's my questions. All right. Do you have to use LA County Health in your study? Or, as I heard you say earlier, you could go to through the United States and get experts if you need it, or the world. Do you have to use them? Because our trust was broken early when Cyrus Rangan wrote a letter to every doctor saying, don't take any data. Do not do any chemicals toxin testing. Wasn't that a red flag that this was going on? I mean, this is so obvious to us, and why we're not getting any help. It only equals one thing, and that's a lot of corruption that needs to be cleaned up in this, your department and many others here.
So the role at this point is on this, what's been the technical advisory group and could potentially be moving forward. So that's their only role, and they have offered to do some additional work, as we listed here, at no cost. It doesn't come out of the $1 million. They could do that on their own. They could do it in coordinated with some of the other work that we're trying to get done. But there's nothing saying that County Public Health is doing this study. That was not one of the things that we said.
Well, I would like to see their results and then hire a professional company to do it and then compare them because of what we've come across in the past. So definitely, if they want to do it for free, let's see what they come up with and then let's compare. Okay. Also, is your agency able to prosecute Sempre for any of the things they've done to us? I mean, you're here, like your mission statement said, to provide, to make sure we have clean air to breathe. We do not have clean air. They have done things behind closed doors, as has your lawyers who negotiated that $1 million comprehensive health study for $1 million. So can you prosecute them? Is there any hope of you giving them a fine of any kind for what they've done to us?
The settlement was the fine. So they had a lot of notices, they had a lot of violations with us, as you know. And those are, you can prosecute those, and the way that they're typically prosecuted is you go after them for fines. And whether that's done through settlement or through a long, long drawn-out court case, that's something our lawyers decide. But if they have, that only settled the NOVs that occurred, before that. If they have additional notices of violation, then there would be additional prosecution. So that's the only authority our agency has. We don't even have criminal authority. We can only bring these cases on a civil basis. Anything criminal would have to be referred to, the DA or somebody else, which obviously was involved in this case.
Okay, they're about to finish their mega compressors. They're ready to start injecting harder and faster into these so-called new and improved wells that 33% failed within the first days of reopening. So the lights are on 24 hours a day. They're working non-stop to get these compressors ready to start re-injecting at a higher decibel than before. So what happens when there's the next accident? I mean, when it is, because it will be. There will be another accident. And there's Santa Susana Fault that intersects with every well up there. And the San Andreas is not too far. So we are expecting catastrophic danger if you guys don't help shut this down and stop them from running over your office.
So as you know, we do not have the authority to shut them down.
Right.
I mean,
But you can, as they have these little accidents that are going to keep coming, especially when those new compressors are in, are you going to do anything?
If they violate our rules, if they cause a public nuisance like we ticketed them before, then we will follow that process. But until they have a violation of our rules, then we don't have that authority.
Okay, well, we'll be watching.
Okay.
And I wanted to just make one more little thing about when you first sat down and you had said, we have decided nothing here tonight. We are waiting for your input. I mean, that sounded really good to me, but I wanted to tell you that a lot of us have driven down to Diamond Bar for many of your meetings when we were begging and telling stories of how we're being poisoned. And unfortunately, you had already made your decision up. We were just there to give public comment, I guess, because you cited over and over and over for Sempre and against public health. So we'll be watching and waiting for you to carry out what you said, that when the next thing happens, you will take action. Thank you.
Thank you. Nancy Hernandez? Okay, Deborah Aquirre or Aquirre? She's still here? No? Oh, there she is.
Thank you. My name is Deborah from LAUSD, Office of Environmental Health and Safety, and I am here to formally request for the scope of the study to include student and staff health impacts, and to request that we be included in all communications and review periods for the health study. Thank you.
Thank you. That's another thing we didn't get into explicitly, is if we are going to do some kind of focused clinical study or other study, we could focus on different populations. We could focus on the children, we could focus on the elderly, we could focus on people with certain health conditions. So there's ways to if you can give us feedback, there's ways to be able to make it a little more focused, and maybe the money that we do have can go a little further. The next is Carol Gertner. No? Okay, Jean or Jeanne Carey.
That was my mother. She wanted to say a quick thing about it. The first thing she was worried about was this cancer latency period, 6 years or so, or 5 years after, 20 million sieverts of radiation being released over 80 days? That's a heck of a lot of sieverts. So if we're 2 years into that 6-year period, we're starting to maybe pick up cancers. So what's going to be done from your point of view, PhDs there, and your epidemiology backgrounds, on monitoring for cancer before the onset of cancer?
I'll defer to Joe Kay on that, but I do want to say that there seems to be a lot of interest in the radiation issue, and I realize there's more work that could be done on that. I mean, we'll take that back as good feedback. You could probably do a focused radiation measurement study. Again, so this is I don't know if there's consensus in the community, but something like that we could try to scope out if that was of interest and of value to the community. There's some work that could be done there, especially if whatever radioactive exposure there was is still out there. I don't know what measurements have been done, but we can look at that. But in terms of detecting cancer before it occurs,
So basically, you're talking about kind of screening, like cancer screening type studies that can be done. Sometimes, well, it should only be done in populations where the risk is determined to be high. Otherwise, the screening process for cancer actually exposes folks to more radiation than the risk can justify. So that would be my only caution.
Marco Maldonado.
Well, there's one other question she had really quick.
Oh,
It was right now, this study that you have up here seems like it's all said and done with the Aliso Canyon. There's no problems, it's all done, blowout's done, we're back to square one, everything's hunky-dory, but that's not the case. Right now, we have all these continual leaks, as brought up by several community members in here, and SoCalGas has not provided any or all the documents, so we don't know what we're up against, and I don't see how on earth you people would know what you're up against when this stuff is all redacted from the public eye and from your agency. So how are you going to be able to even conduct a health study without having all the information before you that's being kept from you?
Well, all we can do is work off the information we have or collect information that we don't have, and that's what we're trying to talk about tonight. Redacted, I don't remember seeing redacted information from the gas company in any of these processes. Maybe there are things that they've given to you. We actually
Just one thing, there is redacted information, like for instance, they're using the firm Geosyntec. Have you heard of Geosyntec?
Yes.
The water board, used the SoCalGas company, the same SoCalGas environmental sampling company that they use on site for their own employees. They find all these problems up there and they keep it internally. Geosyntec does. They're on staff up there, one of their contractors. If you look at the documents, they're always up there. The water board uses Geosyntec to tell the community, oh, this is what's coming out, but that's not really what the true facts are. They'll say there's strontium, but is there a strontium-90 radionuclide? They'll say that there's chromium, but how much of that chromium is chromium-6? Okay? They'll say lead, but what radionuclide aspect of that lead that's coming out? So there's redacted information that they're using of their own Geosyntec contractor that they have test results of, but they're not sharing with you or us, the community. So that's just one cheap example. So that type of FOIA request or the state method of getting freedom of information out of the state agencies, that needs to start happening. Is that going to happen?
Well, by state law, we only have the right to request data that's related to air emissions, and we do have that right. And then the company, by state law, has a right to claim that it's confidential. I'm not sure in this case there were any of those claims. I think everything we got was made public. if they claim it's this may apply to other agencies as well, that's why I'm mentioning it. If they claim it's confidential, then it's up to the agency to make a determination whether that claim is valid. That is typically the process by which things are valid. You're not going to be able to do a Public Records Act request of Sempre. They're not a government agency, but there may be other government agencies that have the right to that data. And that's who you would ask, or maybe they already have it. So, but we can only request information that's related directly to air emissions. So, Marco, we're still a bit of time, probably another 20 minutes before we really got to start wrapping up. So, Marco Maldonado, is he here? Okay, Lane Sempre.
Actually, I'd like to face you. Hi, my name is Lane Sempre. I'm on the Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council Sustainability Committee. I co-chair. I'm a trained climate reality project leader. So not only was I affected by the blowout, I'm quite aware of the harm that it inflicts and the dangers of fossil fuels. The day after the health study hearings concluded, former White House staff member Daryl Park, he attended your governing board meeting to express the community's extreme disappointment in the injustice. Rather than Mr. Park being treated with the same respect as previous speakers, Chairman Burke's his demeanor changed to jovial. He was laughing, offering him cookies, making a spectacle of himself. I was watching this on your live webcast. This is our nation's largest methane release. For him to behave like that, that told a story right there, but we all know the background. Afterwards, when Daryl's statement concluded, Chairman Burke actually blamed the independent hearing board on the health study outcome, settling for $1 million instead of $40 million. He blamed the hearing board when it was his own lawyers. It was AQMD's governing board lawyers who settled for $1 million, knowing that experts said we need the $40 million. So, afterwards, I continued watching the webcast as other speakers came to the mic. And the item on the agenda, all of a sudden I noticed that Chairman Burke's his demeanor became serious. And the item on the agenda was his raise. Now, he makes a really healthy salary. The people at AQMD are very well compensated, by the way. I'm envious of your paychecks. So we can find a way to allocate money to pay for this health study. However you get it, I know it can be done. And okay, I'm going to toss something in there. I don't know Dr. Nordella, but I highly respect him. I hope that everyone buys his book. It would make a wonderful holiday gift. It's very educational, please. He did not ask me to say this. I don't know him, but I did. A friend of mine bought the book and I started reading it. Thank you very much for coming here, and please fight for that money because I know you can do it. Thank you.
Thank you. John Beltzer.
Regardless of how valuable the existing data is from local doctors, hospitals, or emergency rooms, it was still data that was available there from day one. How come you didn't gather it on day two?
To be honest, we're an agency with a health department of 1 or 2. We focus on air quality and reducing emissions. So as this was going on, as you guys know, our focus was on monitoring. Our focus was on making sure the leak was corrected. We were focused on making sure if it was corrected, it was not going to cause additional emissions, and that it wasn't going to cause emissions again. That was our primary focus during the leak.
But in the handout, you're talking about looking at that information now.
Now we are because...
But it was there 2 years ago.
a health study. That's correct. That data may still exist. That data may still exist in the records at the hospitals, the emergency rooms, private doctors, wherever they are. Lori Kalman.
Hello, I'm a 21-year resident. I'm going to work with the idea that the health study is going to be $1 million, and I've got a couple of suggestions that I'd like to make. We're going to pretend that my dad's here, my neighbor's here, my child's kindergarten teacher is still here, the 3rd grade teacher's here, and the 5th grade teacher's here, because all those people are deceased. So what I'd like you to look into is the number of deaths that have occurred in our area since, I would say, a couple years before the leak and to current, because it was really weird that so many people have passed and so many things, so many cancers, okay? The other thing that, a lot of things have been talked about, so public records requests. When the leak was going on, we started a little campaign of see something, smell something, and we asked everybody to call 1-800. There we go, cut smog, it totally escaped my head. And unfortunately, many of us were extremely disappointed because the person that came out to our calls, they were legitimate, took forever to get here. And as the leak continued, then they started to come a little sooner. It took 3 calls in an hour, and it was really quite disheartening as a resident, and I'm using very polite language. So I did a public records request to find out how many calls had come in. This is all available, it's in your system. I highly recommend getting the public records on that. How many calls came in? I know that Larry Israel came out, I believe Andrew mentioned in January, and it was the first time ever he did a confirmed smell. So, but there were many, many, many calls. And maybe you can correlate those calls, those dates, with the doctor's records. Okay, doctor's records. Again, I go to a different hospital than other people, so I would highly recommend that you survey all hospitals within probably a 50-mile radius, all the way to Santa Clarita, go over to Woodland Hills, West Hills, and again, people were relocated. I know people who were relocated to Hidden Hills, and they were going to doctors over there. So you're talking about a huge, huge question mark as when you mention emergency rooms. My dad went to an emergency room, but it was in Northridge. Okay, I'm sorry again. LAUSD. Okay, I would also highly recommend that you request all unexcused and excused absences during the period of the leak. My children had nosebleeds. My children's graduation from 8th grade was threatened because they had 6 absences in 1 year. It was the 6th one that made them get threatened, that they wouldn't be able to graduate. So, highly recommend LAUSD absences, unexcused and excused. They would not excuse their absences for nosebleeds. And veterinarian, we lost 2 of our pets. Many people lost their pets. Highly suggest talking to veterinarians, 50-mile radius easily, because my veterinarian's not close. Okay, that's it, thank you.